The morning light in the kitchen was warm, but the silence was sharp. Linda held the insulin pens over the sink, her smile poison.
These look expired, Dorothy. I am just looking after your health.
Dorothy said nothing. Her gaze held a clinical calm that did not belong to a victim.
Mom, Linda's right. They're probably past their use by.
He wouldn't meet his mother's eyes. He leaned against the counter, his own legs unsteady.
We can't have you risking an infection. This is what mothers never understand. We're the ones who have to clean up.
The disposal blades began to grind. She fed the pens, and one by one, the plastic cracking.
This is for the best, Mom. Linda's only thinking of you.
She had seen that exact brand of concern before, in patients whose families were slowly killing them.
Dorothy watched the last pen disappear, her expression unreadable. She knew something they didn't. Dorothy retired after 41 years in a hospital pharmacy. She knew the shape of every poison. After hip surgery, she moved in with Thomas and Linda. The arrangement was meant to be brief, but in the last month, her son had changed. His speech slurred. Hands shook without reason.
I keep dropping things, Mom. My fingers feel numb in the afternoons.
Orthostatic hypotension. A slurred speech. Unusual fatigue. Not age. This is toxic.
Linda says it's just stress. She makes me these green shakes. They're supposed to help.
A pharmacist's instinct never retires. That shake is dragging him toward the grave.
She watched the kitchen ritual each morning. The blender, the supplement bottle from Linda's gym bag.
Maybe I should see a doctor. But Linda says I am overreacting.
Dorothy said nothing. She simply began to pay attention in a way no one else would. The next morning, Dorothy positioned herself at the kitchen doorway. Linda was already at the blender, humming.
Drink up, honey. It's got everything you need. Spinach, protein, and a little secret for energy.
A little secret. Unlabeled powder from a gym bag. That's not energy, that's a gamble.
It tastes weird today. Grittier.
He set the glass down and his hand trembled. A drop of green liquid splashed onto the table.
Tremor. Ataxia. He looks drunk. This isn't stress, it's neurological.
Later, when Linda left for the gym, Dorothy saw the bag unzipped. Inside, an unmarked white bottle, half full.
No brand, no dosage. An off-label supplement, the kind that kills in a month.
Oh, that old thing. It's just a metabolism booster. My trainer said it's completely natural.
Dorothy filed the lie away. She had seen enough. Now she needed evidence. That afternoon, while Linda ran errands, Dorothy retrieved a small sample bag from her purse. The house was silent.
41 years of pharmacy training. And here I am, collecting evidence in my own son's kitchen.
She sealed the blender residue, then moved to the coffee maker. The grounds were still damp, easy to sample. The real prize sat in Linda's gym bag. She unzipped it carefully. The unmarked bottle cold in her hand. A quick twist of the cap, a tap into a fresh bag, and it was done. She replaced the bottle exactly as it was.
3 samples. Coffee, shake residue, and the mystery powder. That should be enough.
She tucked them into the hidden compartment of her purse. The one she'd sewn herself years ago for travel.
Into the phone. Dorothy spoke softly. Ed, it's Dorothy. I need an off-the-record analysis. Can you meet me tomorrow?
Ed didn't ask questions. He'd worked with Dorothy long enough to know when she'd found something dangerous. He agreed. The samples would be tested within the week. Dorothy hung up and sat in the quiet. The weight of what she was doing settled over her. The next day, Dorothy met Ed at the small private lab. Their handshake held decades of unspoken trust.
Full tox panels. Ed. No questions.
200, same as always.
He tucked the cash away without counting. The lab hummed around them, machines speaking the language Dorothy had mastered. When Dorothy returned home, Linda was waiting with a smile that didn't reach her eyes.
Thomas is purging toxins. The shake is working. He just needs to push through. Dorothy, when did you last check those insulin pens? They look ancient. We can't have an emergency.
She's laying the groundwork. First, the insulin. Then what? Power of attorney.
Thomas sat at the table, head drooping. He didn't defend his mother. The fight had been drained out of him.
Maybe a care facility, honey. For your mother's safety. It's a lot of work for us.
Days blurred. Thomas could no longer rise from a chair without his knees buckling. His words came out slurred, his eyes glassy.
Central nervous system depression. His liver must be struggling. How long before the damage is permanent?
It's just toxins leaving his body, Dorothy. The shake accelerates the process. In a few more weeks, he'll be a new man.
Dorothy said nothing. Linda's smile was a blade, and the lab results were still days away. Evidence meant everything. That night, Dorothy heard water running. Through the kitchen doorway, she saw Linda rinsing the unmarked supplement bottle at the sink, then dropping it into the trash.
All gone! No one can trace it now. Time for a fresh start.
Destroying the bottle. She's preparing for something final. I need those results now.
Dorothy, the results. You need to see them in person. It's urgent. I won't discuss this over the phone.
I'll be there in 20 minutes.
She hung up and glanced at Thomas, pale and weak, on the sofa. The clock was ticking. Dorothy found Ed waiting at the lab door. The lines on his face told her the answer before she asked.
The powder from the shake. It's a stimulant, unregulated, amphetamine adjacent. The coffee was harmless.
He slid the report across the counter. The pages were thick with chemical jargon, but the red highlighted numbers burned through.
3 times the maximum therapeutic dose. Not for energy, for dependence, for control.
He's been ingesting this daily for weeks. His liver and heart are already showing damage. If it continues, it's irreversible.
And the symptoms? The slurred speech, the loss of balance?
Central nervous system toxicity. It mimics a stroke. Someone was either recklessly ignorant or deeply intentional.
Intentional. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's been engineering his decline.
What are you going to do, Dorothy?
Nothing, for now. She'll make a mistake soon. And when she does, I'll be ready.
Straight from Ed's lab. Dorothy stopped at a pharmacy 3 towns over, where no one would ask questions.
Enough insulin for a month. She'll come for these first, and I won't flinch.
At home, she hollowed out an old medical textbook on her shelf, a hiding place only a pharmacist would think of. She slid the fresh insulin pens inside, alongside a cash reserve and the lab report, folded small.
Into her phone, she told Ed, I'll need a formal copy of the report, sealed and notarized. She's going to try to dismiss it.
Then she took out a small leather journal and began to write. Dates, symptoms, exact phrases Linda had used.
A contemporaneous record. In any court, this carries weight. She won't be able to claim innocence.
She noted Thomas's falls, the strange taste in his coffee, the supplement bottle in the trash, every detail.
When this is over, Thomas will need to see it all. Not just the report, but the pattern.
She locked the book in her drawer and sat in the quiet. The bait was set. Now she waited. A few mornings later, Linda's voice carried from the kitchen, sharper than ever.
Thomas, your mother can't manage those stairs much longer. A fall would be catastrophic.
She's been fine, Linda. Mom's careful.
Careful? She nearly tripped yesterday. We can't keep playing nurse. There are facilities designed for this.
Dorothy stood in the doorway, cane in hand, listening. She didn't flinch.
And while we're talking health, those insulin pens in the fridge look ancient. We should check their dates.
There it is. The excuse she's been building toward. The insulin is her next target.
I don't feel right, Linda. Maybe Mom's just...
You don't feel right? Because you are carrying the stress of running this house. We need to think about what's best for all of us.
Dorothy met Linda's eyes and held them. The room went still, the battle line drawn. The morning it happened, Dorothy found Linda already in the kitchen, the refrigerator door open, the insulin pens in her hand.
I've been meaning to check these. Look at the dates, Dorothy. They're from last year.
Linda, maybe we should just let her keep them if she needs them.
No, Thomas. This is for her safety. Expired insulin can be dangerous.
Dorothy said nothing. She had already prepared for this moment. The only thing that felt real was the weight of the backup already hidden in her room.
I am doing this for you, Dorothy. You'll thank me later.
She pressed the switch. The grinding filled the kitchen. The insulin disappeared into the drain.
There. She's done it. Just as I knew she would.
Thomas looked away, guilt on his face. He still didn't understand the full horror. Dorothy stood in the sudden silence, the faint smell of plastic in the air. She already knew what came next. Dorothy turned and walked without a word. Her cane tapped the floor steadily. Linda's mouth opened, but no sound came. She unzipped the hidden compartment of her purse and pulled out a fresh insulin pen, the plastic still sealed.
She thinks she's won. She doesn't know I've been waiting for this.
In the guest bathroom, she washed her hands with a pharmacist's precision, then injected herself in front of the mirror. She returned to the kitchen, the used pen still in her hand. Linda stood frozen, her plan visibly crumbling.
Where did you get that? You can't. We just threw those out.
Thomas, I have a follow-up appointment this morning. I need you to drive me.
An appointment? Now? But Linda just said the insulin was bad.
It's time you understood. Get your keys.
She picked up her cane and moved to the door. After a long hesitation, Thomas grabbed his keys and followed. The car pulled away, the house shrinking in the side mirror. Thomas's hands were unsteady on the wheel.
Mom, Linda was just worried about you. Those pens were old. You can't blame her for that.
Dorothy stared ahead. The file folder on her lap held the weight of weeks of silence.
She's been under so much stress. The house, your health. She's just trying to hold things together.
There's something you need to see with your own eyes. It's not a conversation. It's evidence.
Evidence? What are you talking about? Mom, you are scaring me.
Just drive. You've been in the dark long enough.
The dashboard clock ticked to 10:47 a.m. Miles of asphalt and silence unspooled beneath the car. The engine hummed. But inside the car, the silence pressed in, like a third passenger. Neither spoke. The lab was still 5 miles ahead, but the fracture between them had already cracked wide open. They pulled into the lot of a modest lab building, its sign faded and professional, the windows reflecting gray sky.
Dorothy. Thomas, come in.
Why are we at a lab? Mom, what is this?
The fluorescent light inside was sterile and unforgiving. Ed's face was somber, his hand already on a drawer.
I pulled the file. Dorothy, do you want me to show him?
Yes. Show him everything, Ed. He needs to see his own handwriting.
Thomas, this is a toxicology report from samples your mother brought in 3 weeks ago.
Samples? What are you talking about? Mom?
Ed sighed, the kind a man makes before delivering a wound. He set the file on the counter. Dorothy stood back, arms crossed, her gaze steady. The moment she had engineered had arrived. Ed pushed the folder toward Thomas. The fluorescent light made the red highlighted numbers glow like warning flares. Thomas unfolded the pages. His hands shook as the chemical names burned into his vision. Clipped to the report was a photo. The unmarked supplement bottle from Linda's gym bag, now irrefutable evidence. He dragged a finger down the page. Toxicity risk. Excessive dosage. His breath stopped.
3 times the safe dose? This is what she's been giving me every morning.
The substances are neurotoxic. They cause the dizziness, the slurring, the near collapse.
She said it was for my health, all those shakes. She was breaking me down, piece by piece.
Thomas's legs gave out. He grabbed the counter, knuckles white, the report crumpling in his fist.
Now you understand why I didn't fight back this morning.
He couldn't speak. The silence was his answer, and it was enough. Thomas finally lifted his head, eyes raw. He looked from the report to Ed, as if the answer might still be a lie.
Tell me, this is all wrong. Tell me she didn't do this.
I wish I could. Every line in that report is accurate. I ran the tests myself.
Thomas's face crumpled. The last shield of denial cracked and broke.
She kept saying it was for my health. Every morning, she handed it to me with a kiss.
He sank into a plastic chair, the report sliding to the floor. His voice became a ragged whisper.
I defended her. I let her throw away your insulin, Mom. I almost let her destroy you.
Dorothy remained at the edge of the room, her face still, but her knuckles were white on the cane.
The damage can be treated, son. But you need to stop taking that shake immediately.
Thomas didn't answer. He just buried his face in his hands, and the lab was filled with the sound of a man breaking. Dorothy lowered herself onto the arm of Thomas's chair and smoothed the crumpled report.
Do you understand now why I didn't scream this morning?
You knew. All this time, you knew she was poisoning me.
I suspected weeks ago. I waited until I had proof you couldn't deny.
She set the pages on the counter, her fingers resting on the red-marked lines.
I needed you to see it in your own handwriting. That's the only truth that lasts.
Thomas nodded, unable to speak. He rose on trembling legs and reached for his keys. Outside, he helped Dorothy into the passenger seat, his movements mechanical and slow. The engine turned over. The silence inside the car was different now, heavier but truthful. The clock read 11:23 a.m. The lab faded in the mirror, and the road home unspooled ahead. The car 8 miles in silence. The afternoon sun angled through the windshield, but neither occupant felt its warmth. Thomas gripped the wheel, his knuckles white. The tears had dried, leaving pale tracks down his cheeks. Dorothy sat with her hands folded in her lap, the cane resting against her knee. Her gaze was fixed on the horizon, unblinking. The clock on the dashboard ticked past noon, then 1. The silence was no longer a void, it was something they shared. Dorothy didn't need to speak. The evidence was now in his mind, indelible. The familiar streets appeared, and the house materialized. It looked smaller, somehow. Thomas killed the engine. For a long moment, neither moved. The only sound was the tick of the cooling motor. Dorothy reached for her cane, her movements unhurried. She opened the door and stepped onto the driveway. Thomas remained, staring through the dusty glass, as if the house were a stranger's. Dorothy walked toward the front door, her cane steady on the pavement. Behind her, Thomas climbed out, his steps heavy. The front door swung open, and Linda was already halfway down the hall, her mouth forming questions before she saw their faces.
Finally. Where on earth have you been? I've been worried sick.
Dorothy didn't slow. Her cane tapped a steady rhythm past Linda, as if she were a pillar of salt.
Dorothy, I am talking to you. You can't just disappear for hours without a word.
Thomas stepped inside behind her, his frame sagging. His eyes lifted to meet Linda's, and something in them made her breath catch.
Thomas? What's wrong? What did she say to you?
He said nothing. He simply stood there, a man emptied of every defense, and let her see the wreckage in his gaze.
Say something. Don't just stand there like that.
From the end of the hall came the soft click of Dorothy's bedroom door, closing. The sound was final. Linda took a backward step, her rehearsed authority crumbling into the silence she had always feared. Inside her room, Dorothy slid the small bolt lock into place. The sound was quiet, but it sealed the world out. She crossed to the nightstand and lifted the backup insulin pens from the hollowed book. They were cool and smooth.
She thought she could control my health. She forgot that control is the first thing a pharmacist learns.
She set the pens in their holder on the nightstand, next to a glass of water and her worn leather journal. She lowered herself into the armchair by the window. Outside, the last of the afternoon light was draining from the sky.
No triumph, no relief. Just the quiet knowledge that Thomas is safe now, and I did not have to become cruel to save him.
The house beyond her door was completely silent. No footsteps, no voices, just the weight of everything unspoken. She leaned back and closed her eyes. For the first time in weeks, the insulin was exactly where it belonged. The lock on her door was a small thing, but it was hers, and tonight, that was enough. She did not need to do anything else. The evidence had done its work. Now, the house would have to find its own shape. Morning crept in, pale and muted. When Dorothy stepped into the kitchen, Thomas was already at the counter, the coffee maker gurgling. He turned and silently extended a mug toward her, his eyes red-rimmed but clear.
Here, Mom.
Linda sat at the table, her own cup untouched. Her jaw was tight, her gaze flickering between them like a cornered animal.
He didn't make her a shake this morning. The first victory is quiet.
Linda's silence was heavier than any words she'd ever spoken, and for the first time, it was not a weapon. Dorothy took her seat and buttered a piece of toast with unhurried hands. The simple ritual, a reclaiming of territory.
I am not. I won't drink those shakes anymore.
Linda's fork clattered against her plate, but no one looked up. The silence that followed was not a truce, but a new order. Dorothy finished her oatmeal and rose, her cane steady. She did not need to look back. Thomas's recovery was gradual but steady. He began to stand without swaying, speak without slurring. One morning, he emptied the last of the green powder into the trash and rinsed the blender jar without a word. Linda watched from the hallway, but her protests had died. She knew what lay in the lab report. Dorothy kept her morning routine precise. She unlocked the small drawer in her nightstand. Inside, the insulin pens lay in neat rows next to the folded lab report. She took a pen, injected, and felt nothing but the ordinary calm of a need met. The house became quieter. Linda retreated to her room most mornings, leaving Thomas and Dorothy to the kitchen. Thomas never confronted her. He simply stopped asking permission to breathe. Dorothy did not need an apology. She had her health, her son, and a lock on her door.
That's more than most.
Late afternoon found Dorothy in her armchair by the window. The light was soft, the world quiet. Through the glass, she watched Thomas raking leaves. His movements were steady, his color better. He looked up once, met her eyes through the pane, gave a slight nod. That was all they needed. Dorothy did not need explanations. She had nothing left to prove. She rose and crossed to the nightstand, her cane steady on the floorboards. Her hand rested on the small brass lock. She did not open it.
She already knew everything inside that drawer. It was hers, and that was the only verdict that mattered.
The house was silent, but no longer a battlefield. It was simply a home. Through the window, the sky was deepening into gold and rose. Thomas had gone inside. The insulin was safe. So was she. So was he. In the end, that was all that mattered.